Nancy Lieberman, kudos to you for just exposing Sheryl Swoopes. I love the fact she went on Stephen A. Smith's show yesterday and just told the truth and said that she flat out lied on the Gills Arenas podcast about Caitlin Clark's accomplishments for scoring in college. She held her accountable, and Sheryl Swoopes just moved on and ended their friendship over it. You know, as this situation continues to play out and Sheryl Swoopes continues to run away from the truth, fans are going to keep getting on her about it. And it's like Stephen A. Smith and Nancy Lieberman are going to hold her accountable, and they should. Because this league, if it's ever going to grow, we need analysts who are going to do their jobs correctly. And if you're going to be unprofessional, then we can't take the league serious. And then you're going to go cry about it again how, oh, nobody wants to watch us. That's because it was about drama and there was no credibility in the league. I do want to play this small clip from what she had to say about Caitlin Clark.
You know, when I walked in here before the game, there were just hundreds of fans lined up.
Oh, yeah.
What Caitlin Clark has done for the game is generational. And I just, as a baller to a baller, I just want to say thank you to you, Caitlin Clark.
Absolutely.
For just lifting our game up, you and so many great players. But what you're doing, you're going to make all these women multimillionaires one day, like Tiger did, like Michael Jordan did. And we shouldn't hate on her. We should celebrate her, not tolerate her.
That was definitely a shot at Sheryl Swoopes, no doubt about it. And she's right on the money. All we're asking from fans out there is to help elevate the WNBA. No one's saying Caitlin Clark has to be your favorite player. No one's saying that you have to have Caitlin Clark in your top 10 or the best point guard of the WNBA. But if you want this league to get better, if you want to see the league start making money, Caitlin Clark is the one who will lead that. But if you want to be like Sheryl Swoopes and hate on Caitlin Clark and not help your league grow, then you're going to make things worse. Because the reality is the WNBA is not profitable right now. They don't make any money. They're about to lose another $50 million this year. If Caitlin Clark can help these women become multimillionaires, let it happen. It's that simple. And the back and forth I see between Lieberman and Swoopes is insane to me. Why go down this path, Sheryl Swoopes? I don't get it. Because she's telling the truth here. We should celebrate Caitlin Clark. I'm not saying she has to be your favorite player. I'm not saying you need to buy a jersey from her. But the reality is, Caitlin Clark will help this league grow if you don't push back. I noticed that the women are pushing more back than guys like Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp. You notice that? Like the women are just giving Caitlin Clark such a hard time and not embracing the change that's going on. Now, this was Sheryl Swoopes' reaction to what Lieberman said on Stephen A. Smith's show. We'll play her clip in a moment, but she says, now here you go. I get what you're trying to do with your boy, Stephen A. Smith, but it ain't working. You know good and well what happened. And Dito, my life is good without you too, and him. You want to go there? My question, Sheryl Swoopes, is do you really want to go there with Stephen A. Smith? Because he got way more clout than you. He's got way more influence. You really want to go in that direction because you will get destroyed and cooked. I don't think you want to do that because fans right now are just clowning you. As you see down here, digging and digging and digging, you might reach China at this rate. We're about to get crude oil. How deep is this going? This is ridiculous, Swoopes. Come on. I love how you keep digging. You'll definitely get what you're looking for eventually. Bro, put down your pride and just embrace the next generation. Your pettiness only makes you look bad. You were going out so sad, man. And it's true. And hey, Sheryl, just because Caitlin smashed your tournament scoring record and pretty dumb reason to hate the most popular women's basketball player in the world, and the sole reason the WNBA is popular for the first time in its existence. Those are facts. Swoopes is going to get erased from the WNBA. Everyone just going to refer to her as a Caitlin hater. So sad. And that's the thing when it comes to Sheryl Swoopes is this doesn't need to happen. We got to embrace what's happening with the WNBA. It's getting better. People are watching it because of Caitlin Clark. That's okay. Is that going to happen in the future? No. More fans are going to get adapted to the game and acclimated and watch other players. But you got to let Caitlin Clark lead the way. Now, I want to play the clip from what Nancy Lieberman had to say on Stephen A. Smith's show, and to give you more of my reaction.
Or great with or without Sheryl Swoopes in my life. I'd rather have her in it. But let me tell you the difference. Right. The difference is when the Kennedy Carter thing happened, and I'm doing Michelle Beadle's podcast with Lou Williams and Chandler Parsons, and Michelle says to me, Nancy, what would you tell Caitlin Clark in that situation? And I said to Michelle, look, I'm not here to speak for Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark. I'm not going to tell you that. Then she said, what would you do if somebody kind of blindsided you like that? And you know me, I'm straight from New York, straight from Rucker Park. I said, I would have
Yes.
gotten up. I would have walked up to whoever did that to me. I would have punched him in the face. And the explicative that I used. And I would have said,
Yes.
F off. That is who I am. That is the concentric circle of who I am. And that's my era. And so to her point, Teresa Weatherspoon called me, my dear friend who I love, respect, and admire. She said, Nancy, I was disappointed what you said. And we had a conversation. And I said, Spoon, I didn't say she should punch Kennedy Carter in her face. I said, this is what I would do if I were blindsided. And I've known Kennedy since she was in high school here in Dallas. I think she's a hell of a player, right, and should have been on the All-Star team.
She is.
But my comment about hitting her wasn't about her. But we had this conversation, which we apparently cannot have with me and Sheryl Swoopes. And I still think she was incorrect about what she did. And, we all have to be professional. Right? You covered people, right? You and Durant have kind of gone at it in and out for a little bit, but you still do highlights and talk about him and share the greatness of him. You don't have to agree with everything with him, but just do your job. Do your job. You get paid to do a job as a broadcaster. Do your job. Nobody says you have to be in love with anybody else, but if you're going to do an Indiana Wings game, you're going to have to talk about Caitlin Clark and her great teammates and what they're doing. And they have, Aaliyah Boston. They have, Kelsey Mitchell, who's just bananas. I mean, unstoppable, by the way.
Yes, she is.
And Caitlin Clark. So why wouldn't you not build around it? When I was playing, you would have looked like an idiot if you didn't, when you talked about Old Dominion, two-time national champions and two-time player of the year, and you didn't talk about me. You'd look like you're ignorant.
And that's the issue. And that's the issue, Nancy, because listen, and here's the thing. What incriminates, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, but what incriminates somebody like Sheryl Swoopes even more, who, by the way, was supposed to be calling the game with y'all yesterday, and she did not call the game. And no doubt it had something to do with the fact that when, how Caitlin Clark had performed early in the week, she didn't want to talk about it at all. So we recognize that, and we know in television the way that I do. I know what producers do. I know what bosses do when you see, your personal feelings, whatever they may be, infiltrating the proceedings and compromising your position as a professional. But I think in the case of Sheryl Swoopes, and I'm not going to belabor this point, but it's important to be made. Sheryl Swoopes is a winner. She was great, and she's a phenomenal basketball mind. So what she's not realizing is that when she doesn't state the obvious, it's automatically going to be assumed that it's something personal, because we know the basketball game, the game of basketball, too well to ignore the kind of things that she's ignoring when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're not wrong in saying that. And I would like to thank the Wings and Bally's for putting me on the game and asking me if I would do it. I will do anything for women's basketball. I'm just a servant leader here. At one point in my career, I wanted to be the greatest of all time. And now I just want to be a great, person that supports this generation of greatness. So to your point, I think she created this firestorm. She could put it out. And, it's like I always tell people at this stage, your ego's not your amigo. Okay. Your ego's not your friend. We have to humble ourselves and do our job and just recognize that, Caitlin might not be her cup of tea, but she's not doing anything to hurt Sheryl Swoopes. She admires Sheryl Swoopes and the Maya Moores and the Sue Birds and the legends that came before her. And I would dare say you can't find a soundbite
this season of Caitlin Clark saying anything derogatory about anybody. She says, I don't care that she chatters on the court.
Class.
Who doesn't? Yeah, the great ones chattered, Bird, Magic, all of them. It's okay. That's a competitor. But, for this woman, to be maligned, you shouldn't. You don't have to buy the number 22 jersey if you don't want it. But what you should do is applaud her for helping grow this sport that we have busted our ass for the last 50 years.
That was well said by Nancy Lieberman. Caitlin Clark should be recognized. She is going to be the face of this league, whether you like it or not. Because if you want this league to grow, you need faces to help it get better. The WNBA is in no position to ask for certain things because they're not making any money. The NBA is paying for them. So you have somebody right now who can change the course for the WNBA, turn these women into multimillionaires, help them get endorsement deals. But that situation with Lieberman and Sheryl Swoopes, Lieberman was just trying to hold her accountable. And to end a friendship over that is ridiculous because it shows the bias that Swoopes has towards Caitlin Clark. And then she made a repost about, you remember that time where Lieberman said she would punch Kennedy Carter in the mouth? Don't have context behind that. She was talking about as her reaction. She didn't say Caitlin Clark had to do that. You got to have your facts when you're sharing things like this because everything can get misconstrued. But hey, that's the world we live in when it comes to the internet. People don't want to do their homework or do their research. That's what Sheryl Swoopes does. She doesn't do her homework. And then when she's on national television, completely ignoring Caitlin Clark. You know who else that affects? Fee Collier, because she was also Player of the Week as well. For you to just go on national television and not say a word about either player is just flat out embarrassing. And I hope the WNBA doesn't put her on a national televised game with Caitlin Clark again because she's biased. She can't do her job correctly. And maybe that would teach Sheryl Swoopes a lesson. I doubt it because she has too much pride and ego, but you're going to try to fight with Stephen A. Smith and Nancy Lieberman. You're going to get cooked. You're going to get destroyed and embarrassed. I don't think you really know what you're going up against. At this stage of the WNBA, we need Caitlin Clark to make the league better. Imagine if she leaves the WNBA. They're done. The fans are going to flock and leave, and you're back to square one. You don't want that situation. So instead of the back and forth, if you just let Caitlin Clark elevate your game, I promise you won't regret it because everybody's going to get paid at the end of the day, and the WNBA is going to get more popular, and that's what you want for your league. You want growth instead of constant complaining and these biases. And again, this is worse than what Skip Bayless does with LeBron James because to not talk about a basketball player and act like you're an analyst, I can't take you serious. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what Nancy Lieberman had to say about Caitlin Clark and Sheryl Swoopes. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.